Hi, and welcome back to week 5 of Making Space to Make. This week, we're talking about something that's probably sitting in a pile or a basket somewhere in your house right now, and that's mending and alterations. This is our last foundation week before we dive into workspace setup, and I wanted to tackle mending and alterations because they're often this invisible pile of dread that follows us around our sewing spaces. Similar to UFOs, but way less fun, to me at least. Today we're going to assess what you actually have, decide what's worth your time, and this is super important, we're going to talk about setting boundaries around requests from other people. Because if you sew, and I know you do because you're here watching this video series, you know exactly what I'm talking about. First, let's gather everything that needs mending, and I mean everything. The basket by the washing machine, the pile on your dresser, maybe a bag in your closet you've been ignoring, all of it. This includes things that need repair, hemming, taking in, letting out, or any other alterations. I want you to look at each item and ask, how long has this been waiting? Do I actually still wear this? Is this worth my sewing time? Would I buy this item today? And is this fabric even high quality enough to warrant mending? Be honest with yourself while doing this assessment. That shirt with a hole that you haven't worn in 2 years, but you keep because you feel guilty. The jeans that don't fit anymore, but just need hemming. The dress that needs taking in, but you haven't worn it since you bought it. You have permission to let these go. Here's the thing about mending and alterations. If you're not careful, they tend to accumulate faster than most of us actually do them. If you're getting 3 new projects a month, but only finishing 1, you're fighting a losing battle. Know your actual pace, not your ideal pace. If you mend and alter 1 item every few months, plan accordingly. Now, before we dive into boundaries, if you are someone who genuinely loves doing alterations and mending for others, and it brings you joy, then you can just skip this whole video. Go to town and enjoy. This advice is for those of us who feel obligated or overwhelmed by the requests. Now, let's talk about something that happens to almost everyone who sews. It's the requests. Oh, you sew. Can you hem this for me? Can you fix this zipper? Can you take in this dress? Can you just fix this hole really quick that is definitely not anywhere near a seam line? If you say yes or just don't say no to these requests, suddenly your hobby time gets eaten up by other people's mending and alterations, and your creative time becomes fix-it time. Let me share what I actually mend and alter versus what I don't, because this might help you think through your own boundaries. My most recent mending project was my husband's hockey pants that got slashed by a skate. I will fix hockey gear when it's safety related and it fits under my machine, which is not always the case, but I'll do it basically to keep him safe until the replacement arrives. I'm also working on mending some quilts right now that are wearing out. They're sentimental to me and would cost more to replace in time and money than the time and new binding I'll put into them. I'll also mend things if I know I'll actually wear them. I have this poppy dress that I recently wore in one of my videos. It's in this beautiful Mind the Maker rayon, and John accidentally put it on the dryer on high. It is a little too short now, but I really love that dress and wear it constantly. I have leftover fabric, so I'm gonna add a 3rd flounce to the bottom. It's worth it because I know I'll wear it. Here's what I won't do anymore. Most alterations beyond hemming John's pants. Almost everything else gets referred to our local dry cleaner. I also stopped patching John's jeans. For $20, our dry cleaner does a gorgeous invisible mending job. So why not support a talented local business while also maintaining my boundaries? I think it's important to mention that oftentimes when people ask you to do alterations, they're usually trying to save money rather than paying professional rates. You'll almost never be paid what these services are actually worth to you, and most people expect you'll do it for free or for much less than a professional would charge. There's something about sewing and mending being seen as women's work that makes people assume it should be cheap or free, even though it requires real skill and time. So keep that in mind when you're deciding whether or not to say yes. My go-to response now is I don't do that, but my dry cleaner does beautiful work. And John has learned to just tell people I don't do alterations or repairs. Other scripts at work? I'm focusing on my own projects right now. My sewing time is my creative time. I don't have much time for mending or alterations. I'd recommend insert your local dry cleaner. They do excellent work. Practice these. You don't owe anyone your hobby time. Now, are there exceptions? Of course. Close family for special occasions, emergency repairs for people you care about, but make these conscious choices, not default yes responses. And if you do say yes, set clear timelines and expectations and stick to them. I can get to this over the next month prevents the "is it done yet" texts. Remember, sewing is your thing. It's your creative outlet, your relaxation, your skill development time. You are not a free alteration service just because you happen to know how to use a sewing machine. Boundaries aren't mean, they're necessary. They protect the time and mental space you need to actually enjoy sewing. So here's what's important. You need to create a rule for new mending and alterations projects, something like 1 in, 1 out. Before you add something new to the pile, finish something that's already there. This prevents the endless accumulation that makes the pile feel overwhelming. You might also want to consider a quarterly mending amnesty. Anything that's been waiting more than, say, 3 months gets released without guilt. The reality is, if you haven't been motivated to fix it in the last 3 months, you probably never will be, and that's totally okay. Remember, the goal is not to become a mending and alterations expert. Unless that's what you want, then that can totally be your goal, that's fine. It's to clear this mental clutter so you can focus on sewing things you're actually excited about. Your pile of good intentions does not need to follow you around forever. Here's what I want you to do this week. First, gather all your mending in one place, then sort it into 3 piles. 1, we'll definitely mend, things you love and will actually do. We'll probably mend, this is things you're unsure about. And 3, release. This is things you're keeping out of guilt and you can just get rid of. Start with pile 3 and let those go immediately. For pile 2, set a deadline. If you don't mend them by a specific date, they join pile 3. And I want you to practice your mending boundary scripts. Decide now how you'll handle the next request that comes your way. The goal is not to become a mending machine. The goal is to clear this mental clutter so you can focus on sewing things you're excited about, because your creative time matters. Mending boundaries can feel awkward at first, but they get easier with practice, I promise. And clearing that pile of guilt mending is going to feel so good. Next week, we start part 2, workspace setup. Our first topic is cutting table organization, because that is the #1 thing you all asked for in the comments when I started this series. I cannot wait to start in on the functionality of our sewing spaces together. I will see you next Friday. Bye-bye.